Disappearances are disturbing, but some are truly perplexing. This video reveals 5 real cases of baffling vanishings that left Canada bewildered. These are the haunting stories of individuals who disappeared without a trace, shrouded in mystery and unanswered questions. Dive into the chilling tales that baffle investigators and keep us wondering, what happened? On June 30th, 2002, in Nanaimo, British Columbia, 21-year-old Lisa Marie Young was celebrating a friend's birthday, moving between nightclubs and house parties. A fitness enthusiast and proud Tlaoki'at First Nation member, Lisa was the eldest of 3 siblings, close to her family, and aspired to be a sports broadcaster. Tragically, she vanished that night without a trace. The night began at the Jungle Cabaret nightclub, which closed at 2:30 a.m. As Lisa and her friends left, Christopher William Adair approached them and offered them a ride to another party in his old Jaguar. The group accepted, and the night continued with music, drinks, and a carefree atmosphere. Later, they headed to a second party, again with Christopher driving. At this second party, Lisa began to feel hungry. Being a vegetarian, she couldn't find anything she could eat, so Christopher offered to drive her to a nearby restaurant. Lisa agreed and left with him around 4 a.m. This was the last time her friend saw her. About 30 minutes later, Lisa called her friend Dallas Hulley. She sounded uncomfortable and said that Christopher had taken her to another party where she didn't know anyone. Lisa asked Dallas to pick her up, but soon after she sent a message indicating she could not leave. Her phone was last traced to Departure Bay before going silent. Initially, Lisa's parents thought she might be busy settling into her new apartment or preparing for her job, but after no one heard from her, they grew concerned. On July 1st, her parents reported her missing to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP. At first, the RCMP advised them to wait 48 hours before filing a report. Later that evening, an officer visited their home and requested a photo of Lisa. The case was soon transferred to the Serious Crime Unit as police began to suspect foul play. Despite several searches in remote areas around Nanaimo, no evidence of Lisa was found. On July 3rd, her family contacted the media, and her disappearance was front-page news in the Nanaimo Daily News. Despite the widespread attention, Lisa remained missing. Rumors began to circulate that her body had been found, but these were false. By July 20th, the RCMP identified Christopher Adair as the man driving the Jaguar that night. Lisa's mother, Marlene, even met with him briefly. Christopher apologized but provided no useful information. Although he had a criminal record for assault and theft, he was never charged in Lisa's case. The police seized his car, but it had been steam cleaned, erasing any forensic evidence. Years passed, but Lisa's family continued to search for her. Her grandfather, Tlaoki'at Chief Moses Martin, led search efforts, and the family offered an $11,500 Canadian reward for information. Still, no major leads emerged. In June 2017, Lisa's mother, Marlene, passed away, with many believing the stress from Lisa's disappearance contributed to her death. The following year, Lisa's friend Dallas died in a car accident. Lisa's case remained in the public eye. In December 2019, a billboard with her picture and case details was placed on the Island Highway. In 2020, MP Paul Manley raised concerns about how the RCMP handled the case, suggesting Lisa's Indigenous background may have affected the urgency of the investigation. Many believed the response would have been quicker had she not been Indigenous. In December 2020, nearly 2 decades after Lisa disappeared, the RCMP conducted new searches in Nanaimo but found no new evidence. By June 2021, police revealed they had searched multiple locations using radar and dogs, but nothing was discovered. In February 2022, an anonymous donor offered a $62,500 Canadian reward for information leading to the discovery of Lisa's remains. Yet her case remains unsolved. The RCMP still believes Christopher is connected to her disappearance, but without sufficient evidence, no charges have been filed. He's now believed to be living in Japan, out of Canadian authorities' reach. To this day, Lisa's body has never been found, and her family continues their search for answers. It was February 17, 2008 in Quebec City, Canada. Marilyn Bergeron, 24, left her parents' home for a short walk, taking only her credit card. She told her family she'd return soon but never returned. Her disappearance sparked a mystery that has left her family searching for answers for over 15 years, full of strange events and unexplained behaviors that continue to baffle investigators and the public. Marilyn was born on December 21, 1983, in Chicoutimi, Quebec. She was passionate about music and even tried to form a band in high school. While her parents worried about some of her friends, she remained focused on media arts and sound editing. In 2005, after college, she moved to Montreal, where she worked at Steve's Music Store and freelanced as a sound editor for TV stations. But by early 2008, something had changed in her life. 2 months before her disappearance, Marilyn's friend Jonathan Gauthier noticed a shift in her behavior. She appeared unusually sad, sitting alone in the dark listening to music. At a party, she left early, seeming anxious. When Jonathan asked if something was wrong, Marilyn hinted at having gone through a difficult experience but refused to elaborate. Her behavior became increasingly concerning after that. In early 2008, Marilyn told her family she no longer felt safe in Montreal, but wouldn't give any details. She promised to explain once she returned home to Quebec City. On February 10th, she moved back in with her parents, making 2 trips to Montreal to collect her belongings, each time appearing more upset. She asked her sister Natalie, "Is there light at the end of this tunnel?" Her distress was clear, but she still wouldn't reveal what was troubling her. Her family continued to ask her what was wrong. Her mother, Andrée, wondered if she was in trouble with drugs, debt, or a bad relationship. Marilyn denied all of this. When asked if she had been assaulted, she broke down in tears, but still refused to discuss it, leaving her family deeply concerned. On February 17th, Marilyn left her house, saying she was going for a walk. She took only her credit card, leaving all other identification behind. When she didn't return that evening, her family reported her missing. The last confirmed sighting of Marilyn was on security footage from an ATM in Loretteville, Quebec, at 11 a.m. that day. She attempted to withdraw $60, but her card was declined. The footage shows her looking over her shoulder, appearing nervous. She was carrying a black backpack, but no one knew what made her anxious. Later, at 4:03 p.m., she used her credit card at a Café Depot in Saint-Romuald, 20 kilometers south of Quebec City. The cashier noted she looked sad and hurried to leave. This was the last confirmed sighting of her. In December 2009, Guy Salico from Hawkesbury, Ontario, reported a strange encounter. A woman knocked on his door around 2 a.m., soaking wet from the rain, asking to use the phone. She wore a light jacket and high heels, which seemed inappropriate for the cold weather. After making a call which went unanswered, she asked for directions and left. Salico later saw a picture of Marilyn online and believed the woman could have been her. Though this sighting was never confirmed, Marilyn's mother felt sure it was her daughter. There have been other possible sightings of Marilyn in the Hawkesbury area, with reports suggesting she was seen with a younger man. This has led to speculation that she may still be alive, possibly held against her will. Despite all the leads, Marilyn's whereabouts remain unknown. Her family continues to search for answers. Her mother publicly stated that the family would respect her decision if she had started a new life and wished to be left alone. However, if they had truly lost her, they needed to end this nightmare. It was April 12, 2016, in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, a small town of about 16,000 people. That morning, 16-year-old Michaela Bali was acting strangely. She texted her friend, Oksana, asking for a ride to the bank, but it was too early and the bank wasn't open. Oksana declined. This would be one of the last messages Michaela sent before disappearing later that day, leaving behind many questions. Michaela Bali, born Michaela Margaret Kim Niebergall on July 2, 1999, in Regina, Saskatchewan, lived a quiet life. She enjoyed reading, playing video games, and playing the violin. Recently, she started learning the accordion. Michaela was close to her mom, Paula, and had 2 younger siblings. However, she had an online life that her family knew little about, interacting with people her family didn't know. By 2016, Michaela had legally changed her last name to Bali. Her father, Rick Bright, had no involvement in her life, a detail that would later be crucial in the investigation. Her friends described her as kind and caring, with dreams of working with children or animals. Yet much of her time was spent online, and her friends were unaware of whom she was communicating with. On the day she disappeared, Michaela's grandmother dropped her off at school, but she didn't stay long. Her day unfolded oddly. She went to a pawn shop to sell some rings but was unsuccessful. She then waited outside a bank to withdraw $55, making phone calls. Though later, police found no record of these calls. They suspect she used an app to contact someone anonymously. Michaela was also spotted at a Tim Hortons coffee shop, making phone calls and asking a stranger for help booking a hotel room. The woman declined. At 10 a.m., Michaela texted two friends, expressing that she needed help, followed by another message saying she had figured it out. These messages would later leave her friends puzzled. Around 11:55 a.m., Michaela briefly returned to school, telling classmates she was going to Regina. She left again shortly after, had lunch at a restaurant near the bus depot, and inquired about the next bus to Regina. When she learned it wouldn't leave until 5 p.m., she decided not to buy a ticket. Michaela was last seen leaving the bus depot around 1:45 p.m. When her grandmother came to pick her up later that day, Michaela was missing. Her teachers confirmed she hadn't attended any classes. When her mother couldn't reach her by phone, she knew something was wrong. Michaela was reported missing that evening. The investigation started quickly. Police first believed Michaela might still be in Saskatchewan, possibly Regina or Saskatoon. Without a passport, they doubted she could have left the country. On April 17th, 5 days after she disappeared, the police contacted her biological father, Rick Bright, who expressed regret for not being involved in her life and offered to help in the search. Throughout the summer of 2016, the search expanded to nearby provinces. Michaela's friend Shelby noticed that a Snapchat message sent to Michaela on the day she disappeared had been opened, raising hopes she was alive. However, it could have been the police accessing her account. Over the following years, reported sightings of Michaela surfaced in Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, and Edmonton, but none were confirmed. In 2017, police searched a lake and nearby woods in Yorkton, but found no evidence. By 2018, an anonymous donor raised the reward for information to $50,000, which was later reduced to $25,000. In 2020, another tip placed her in Penticton, which also led nowhere. Michaela's mother, Paula, has spent nearly $45,000 searching for her daughter. Despite hundreds of tips, there has been no trace of Michaela. Some theories suggest she may have run away, while others believe she could have been lured by an online predator or fallen victim to human trafficking. Michaela Bali was 5 feet 2 inches tall, weighed 114 pounds, and had blonde hair and blue eyes. She wore teal glasses, a maroon jacket, dark blue skinny jeans, and brown ankle boots when she vanished. Today, Michaela would be 25 years old. It was March 24, 1991, a typical Sunday in Victoria, British Columbia. 4-year-old Michael Dunahee was with his family at Blanchard Park Elementary School. His mother, Crystal, was preparing for a flag football game, a usual family activity. Like most young kids, Michael wanted to play on the nearby playground. Crystal hesitated but allowed him to go, watching him from a distance. The playground was busy. The children played, the parents chatted, and the game was about to start. Amid all the activity, no one noticed when Michael suddenly vanished. By around 12:30 p.m., he was gone, leaving behind confusion and growing panic. Crystal quickly realized she couldn't see Michael anymore. She ran to the playground calling his name, but he didn't respond. A search began immediately, with everyone nearby joining in to look for him. The initial hope was that he was simply playing a game of hide-and-seek or had wandered off. As time passed without finding Michael, the situation became more alarming. The Victoria Police were called and a large-scale search was launched. It involved hundreds of volunteers, multiple police agencies, and even the Coast Guard. Helicopters equipped with heat-seeking technology flew overhead, trying to detect any sign of the boy. Despite these efforts, there were no clues. Michael had seemingly disappeared without a trace. Attention soon turned to a brown van several witnesses had seen when Michael went missing in the area. A 10-year-old girl reported seeing Michael get into the vehicle. This lead prompted police to release a sketch of the van. Descriptions varied slightly. Some said it was a Volkswagen, while others recalled different models. It was described as light beige on top, darker on the bottom, and dirty. The brown van theory seemed credible, supporting the idea that Michael had been abducted. One witness, Norma, remembered seeing a boy running down Wark Street, followed by a woman. The woman tackled the boy, grabbed him by the legs, and dragged him across the street. Norma dismissed the scene at the time, thinking it was kids playing. Later, she realized the boy could have been Michael. She vividly recalled his bright-colored pants and blonde hair, which matched Michael's appearance. Norma also saw a brown van with its side door open and a man standing beside it. She felt immense guilt for not intervening that day. Years later, she was hypnotized to recall more details, but police never confirmed if her account led to any breakthroughs. Norma's memory of that day haunted her. She felt responsible for not stopping the incident and eventually moved away, unable to drive past the street where she had seen the boy. Even decades later, the memory still troubled her. Another witness, a man watching his children cross the field that morning, also noticed a similar van. At first, he thought it belonged to a friend, but later realized it didn't. He was confident in identifying the van because he was a mechanic and knew the model well. Despite these leads, the brown van theory eventually went cold. Police received hundreds of tips, but none led to any significant developments. As days turned into weeks and then months, hope began to fade. The disappearance devastated Michael's family. His parents, Crystal and Bruce Dunahee, became public figures, pleading for information and holding out hope for their son's return. They organized the Keep Hope Alive walk run to raise awareness, which continues today. Although years passed, the Dunahees never gave up. Crystal especially believed Michael was still alive. She even submitted her DNA to databases, hoping Michael might one day search for his family and they could reunite. The case remains one of Canada's largest unsolved missing person investigations. In 2021, the 30th anniversary of Michael's disappearance, police released an age-enhanced sketch of what he might look like at 34 and launched an online tip portal. Although many tips came in, none provided answers. The mystery of Michael Dunahee's disappearance endures. Did the brown van play a role? Was Norma's sighting of the boy his actual abduction? If Michael is still alive, where has he been all these years? Many questions remain unanswered, leaving his case one of Canada's most haunting mysteries. On June 14, 2013, Immaculate Mackie Mary Basil, a 27-year-old Indigenous woman from the Tlaston Nation, disappeared near the Kuzcha Indian Reserve in remote British Columbia. A devoted mother, recently separated from her partner, Mackie lived quietly, focusing on her son, family, and her work as a secretary and teacher's assistant. But that night, everything changed. Mackie was not known for heavy drinking or partying, often preferring to stay home. However, on June 13th, she attended a funeral and later joined a party in Tachi, where she met her cousin Keith and Victor, a man with a criminal record for sexual assault and violent crimes. Despite Victor's past, Mackie left with them, taking a bottle of vodka, and they set off in a truck to collect roofing materials from a cabin near Kuzcha. The truck never made it to the cabin. At some point, it was involved in an accident on the isolated Leo Creek Forest Service Road, surrounded by dense woods. The next morning, Victor was seen walking into town, drenched up to his chest, though no one could explain why he was so wet. People noticed his strange behavior, but Mackie was nowhere to be found. Mackie's family realized something was wrong when she missed her daily 10 a.m. call. This call was part of a routine she had kept with her siblings for years, ever since they went through the foster care system together. When she didn't call, her family worried, but hoped it was due to a lost phone or poor signal. By the next day, their concern grew. She was missing. Not just out of contact, her siblings began searching for her immediately. 4 days later, with no trace of her, they reported her missing to the police. Unfortunately, the authorities delayed their response, taking an extra day to start the investigation and losing valuable time. The search was further hindered by jurisdictional issues between the reserves, complicating and slowing the efforts. Victor and Keith claimed that Mackie had decided to leave the crash alone. A witness later reported seeing a woman who looked like Mackie walking alone on a bridge near the crash site the following morning. The same witness saw two men standing by the truck, asking why Mackie was walking alone. Victor's story seemed suspicious. He said he walked for help after the accident, but he was seen near the crash site shortly after it supposedly happened, his wet clothes adding to the mystery. No official crash report was ever filed, and other than some broken branches and metal scraps, little evidence was found at the scene. Several theories emerged about what happened to Mackie. The most likely points to foul play by Victor or Keith. Victor's criminal past and the inconsistencies in his story made him a key suspect. The area's remoteness would have provided an opportunity to hide any evidence. Another theory suggests that Mackie, who wasn't used to drinking heavily, could have wandered off, become lost, and been attacked by an animal. However, no signs of an attack were found during the extensive search of the area. A third theory links Mackie's disappearance to the Highway of Tears, a notorious stretch of road where many Indigenous women have vanished or been murdered. If Victor and Keith's account is true, Mackie might have been abducted after leaving the crash site. Yet without concrete evidence, this theory remains the least likely. Despite thorough searches by police, family, and community members, Mackie was never found. Neither her body nor any of her belongings were discovered. Over the years, the Tla'azen Nation increased the reward for information several times, but no credible leads emerged. Both Victor and Keith passed police polygraph tests, but Mackie's family remained suspicious, especially given Victor's criminal history. The case has gone cold without physical evidence or a crime scene, leaving her family with unanswered questions. Mackie Basil's disappearance is a haunting example of the many Indigenous women who have gone missing or been murdered in Canada. The slow response, jurisdictional challenges, and unresolved details have left her loved ones searching for answers, still hoping to one day find out what truly happened that night.